Was für die Stream-Leute.
Dear guys online, we wait for 10 more minutes until we start because people are still arriving. So stay with us.
Thank you for joining us on the live stream of the Center Venture 2015. Since this is an event with real people, we are waiting for more people to arrive, and we'll start in around 5 to 10 minutes.
All right, everyone, I think we will start. We are about ready to start. First of all, a warm welcome to everybody here in the room. We are happy that many of you could make it on your precious Friday night. Normally we do this kind of final presentation down there in the CDTM kitchen, but due to the many people who signed up and due to the many who also showed up tonight, we moved it up here. Also, a warm welcome to all those watching on the live streams, because we actually have quite some people out there in the world watching us, some from the US, as I heard. The good news is, no matter what happens in the next 45 minutes, you will definitely have the possibility to watch it in HD. So what will happen during the next, as I said, half an hour, 45 minutes? Well, first of all, my colleague Philip, with whom I conducted the last 5 days hackathon from the management side of CDTM, will guide you through this journey that we went through. Afterwards, we will have the pitch of the product that we worked on, and the final presentation of the results. And then after that, we will, of course, have time for Q&As for you, so that you can pose all the questions that arise to you throughout the presentations. So with these words, I will not keep you, waste your time any longer, and I will hand over to you to present the center venture.
Yes, thank you, Laura. So I will waste your time now. No, not really, but before we dive into the presentation, a quick introduction to this course format and why we actually came up with what you're seeing tonight. So the course format is called Center Venture. It's our definition of a hackathon, which we do regularly at CDTM every year. And I want to walk you through it from the different perspectives of the people who actually took part. So first of all, the CDTM Center Venture through the lens of our project partner. His name is Lin. He's sitting there. Lin, you might want to wave. Yes. So Lin is a serial entrepreneur, people that we like very much around CDTM. And after he sold his company to Adobe, he actually founded a NGO, which is the Kayser Forum for Sustainability. And he went out there in the world and did some environmental research. And actually, at some point in time, he figured out that he's working on problems that actually other people have already solved in part. And it doesn't make sense for a software engineer to go fishing to understand where there are much more people who know where they should work in the case of the environment. So I don't want to spoil the content now, but this was actually the starting point when we thought about what we could do about that, and why the Center Venture about elaser.org came into being in the first place. So then we decided, because we had 20 students who took part, to split up into teams. And every team has perceived this week a little differently. So first of all, the strategy team. And when you talk to these guys, the first sentence that they always say, let's talk numbers. They want to have the hard facts. And here are the numbers from the Center Venture. So 20 students, 2 doctoral students, Laura and me, 1 project partner, 3 daily stand-up meetings where we all meet in the same kitchen, Then we have 5 days. So we started on Monday. Today is Friday. That's 5. And from 9 to 9, that's basically what we told everyone. You should be here at the center from 9 to 9. But actually, it was like much longer into the night. Like I think last night people left at 3:40 or 3:30 or something. So didn't really grab much sleep, but still are very awake now thanks to a lot of coffee. Then we have in total like more than 1,200 hours of work which actually went into this project. So you can really be proud of yourselves, guys, because this is a huge amount of work that one guy would need like more than half a year to actually come up with something like that, but he did in just 5 days. So that's the strategy part. And also, of course, these guys took care of like bringing together everything. So that's basically the schedule that we had for the week. We started off at Monday morning at 9 a.m. In our conference room with an intro session, and people learned about like Agile and Scrum as like some methods for project management. And then we had some pitches to bring everyone up to speed about what this whole project is all about. So we learned about the refugee crisis in Germany and all the facts that actually are out there. We learned about the Sustainable Development Goals brought forward by the UN just recently, 2 weeks ago. And also we learned about collaborative platforms like Wikipedia and how they work and how our solution might make an additional difference to that. And then basically we had these meetings every day. We actually went to refugee camps for field trips. We had a lot of inspiring sessions with helpers at the train station and refugee camps and so on, and really spread out. And now tonight, it's 6 p.m., the final presentation, and we show you what we came up with. That's the strategy side. The other team was the development team. And of course, you can actually guess that techies have a different perspective on stuff. So naturally, they would go for the darkest corner in the room to set up their coding camp, which is actually also happening right now. So if you look back, they are sitting in the dark corner, but hey guys. And here's actually a nice illustration of how they came up with the project. So this is an illustration of our Git repository. So every time they made a commit or created a new file or folder, well, nice flash shows up or nice point in time. So and this actually illustrates how the front end and the back end came together, which built the skeleton of what we came up with throughout the week. This goes on like for quite some time, so I'll just stop now, but I think you got an idea of how complex this project actually is. Now let's move to the content team. And as opposed to the tech team, these are actually the guys who were like more open for daylight and spreading out and meet people. So they went to the refugee camp. We talked to the guys who run a camp like just across the street at Karlstraße. We talked to people who helped at the train station on different camps throughout Munich. We also had some Skype calls with people from Libya, for example. And the coolest thing that they learned throughout the week, they told me they just learned HTML within like 1 hour because they had to like really fill our site with content, and very short notice yesterday and also today in the morning. Okay, and then we have the design team, and they took care of design, of branding, of marketing, and ultimately of this short video. Okay, so I think now you got a pretty good impression of what this week was like. The only question that might be left, what is actually the role of the management team of Laura and me? We didn't do much, yeah, just like making sure that everyone attends the Scrum meetings, which is like a stand-up meeting, and we are standing around this task board and make sure that everyone talks to each other and tells what they did in the past day. So basically we had this huge board and post-its moving from left to right and having a huge burn down rate. And we just told everyone to have fun studying, yeah, because when you're used to normal university classes where you take exams, this is completely different, and we're making a real difference and have a very intense week. Yeah? So they took our words very seriously. So the best group photo that we can up with kind of shows that we had a lot of fun in creating elaser.org. And well, with these words, it's 6 p.m. We are done, and now finally excited to watch the final presentation. So a huge round of applause to the team.
Okay, before we start, let me ask you one question. Who of you was here in Munich as the refugees started arriving at the central station? Raise your hands. Okay, quite a lot of people. And has any one of you also helped out themselves, either at the main station or another refugee camp? Okay, there's quite a few. So to those of you, this may actually sound quite familiar. Munich was quite intense this summer, but worldwide, 60 million people fled their homes. We haven't seen anything like that since World War II. In situations like this one, many people want to help, but often we don't really know where to start. I was talking to a friend and CDTM student, Christian, who has been working with refugees, and he said that they often run into problems, especially at night. When it's loud, some people want to party, some people want to sleep. In this situation, they came up with a very simple solution, which was earplugs. Simple as that, and it actually solved the problem of the noise that they had. And these are the solutions that the world should know about. Now, if you talk to experts who have been working in this field for a long time, even they say that there is very little sharing of lessons. And it really shouldn't be like that. Now, if you think about other problems we might have, like climate change, food waste, poverty, solving these problems on your own is really hard. But why should we even start from scratch every single time? Let's start working on those ideas together. Let's start building upon them, even little by little, piece by piece. So this is what we have been working on for the past 5 days. And we developed elaser.org, where we solve global problems by sharing solutions.
Let's have a quick peek at our platform. The first topic that we have been collecting solutions for is the ongoing refugee crisis here in Europe and in Munich. Now, let's put ourselves into the shoes of a refugee who has been living in Munich for a few days or weeks and is searching for a job. So that's really a hard thing because they're not allowed to work, and finding a job, whatever it is really hard. So let's say this refugee has heard of elaser.org. He uses our most important functionality, which is the search bar. Types in what he's looking for. I'm looking for a job. And already at this moment sees a lot of solutions that have been put in there by our first users in the last 4 days. So I'm just scrolling around here and just clicking on something. And then I see an article with a solution that provides me with knowledge about how to connect refugees with jobs. I see a diagram here about how it works in Bavaria, and I see some text. Now that's something maybe you could see in Quora or something, but what is really awesome in our platform is that this is something people put a lot of effort in, something that really makes a difference. And you see this is quite extensive. So this has actually been put in by one of our first customers, and they put a lot of effort in. And another really awesome feature of our platform, and that is a unique thing, is that everything is automatically translated into our 3 default languages, German, English, and Arabic for the refugee situation. That's awesome. So you see the same article here in Arabic, because most of the people who come here don't speak English that well, and no German. So something else that is really important to our idea, and that was really important for us as well, is the personal connection between the users. So you can actually go on here on the profile and just contact the helper who wrote this article. So I say, hey, I found it awesome that you're sharing everything, and I want to do something similar in another city. Could you please hook me up with some people, help me set up something like that? And that's a core feature of our platform. And as you might have seen also, we put a lot of work into optimizing the platform for use on mobile devices. And that has a very good reason.
Indeed, we have a really, really good reason for that. So we developed elesa.org. We developed this platform to tackle problems by sharing solutions. And this works actually best if you can reach as many people as possible, right? So what we did is we tackled mobile first, because if you look out there, for every laptop sold, there are 4 times mobile devices sold. So for every laptop out there, there's 4 times smartphones and tablets. And there are regions in this world where people might not even have seen a laptop before, like Southern Africa or Eastern Asia, but they have a smartphone, and they have that in their daily lives, and they use it. And these are also people that we want to reach. So we obviously went mobile first. Another thing that taps into that is that our platform is multilingual. As Michael already said, the content that you enter gets translated automatically in a lot of languages. So what we want to achieve with this is that, the worker in Nigeria who posts a solution, that solution can be read by a man in northern China without a lot of delay, without like 4 weeks of translation works, or without no translation at all because somebody has to organize it and no one does. So this is really important. But what's the most important thing about our platform is collaboration. The whole platform is basically really about collaboration. So if you want to see the big picture, it's for example, if you're in the Amazonas, right, and you want to put up this water purifying camp, and you don't really know what to do. But in this very moment, there is this other guy on the other side of the world, in Vietnam, in the Mekong Delta, for example. And he does exactly the same thing that you did, but maybe he started like 3 or 4 weeks earlier. And he actually has something that is running now, and he's like, oh, okay, so this works for me, and this works really good. But I discovered some problems on the way, but I was able to solve them. And he knows about elesa.org, and he thinks, okay, this is something that might actually be helpful for a lot of people. So he goes there and he enters his content. So now I sit there, Amazonas, other side of the world, and I really don't know what to do about this platform, and I know that they share solutions there. And I go on elesa.org, and I don't know this guy who entered the solution, and I probably have no clue that he's doing the exact same project, but I can see his solutions, and I'm actually able to work more efficient, to save money, to save time, to achieve what I really want. And this is what we want to achieve with Elesa. So from what I told you right now, you might probably be able to hear already that elesa.org is set up as a non-profit organization. And there is one big problem that a lot of non-profit organizations have, and this is funding. So what we don't want is to be solely dependent on donations. So we came up with this hybrid business model to actually sustain ourselves. It works like this. So elesa.org is still the nonprofit, and it allows a lot of people to collaborate and share solutions. But what it's in its basics is a knowledge sharing platform. And knowledge sharing is something that could be used by big corporates as well, right? So we take the platform, we take the system and the maintenance, and we sell it to corporates through our pro-funding organization, Elesa Works. And we sell it, and we generate profit. And with this profit, we are actually able to cross-fund the nonprofit organization, elesa.org. So I told you a lot about what we do and how we do it, but to actually understand and to see the big picture of how this can help solving global issues, it's probably best to hear a story, right? So Stefan will tell you one.
Exactly, and I would like to tell you the story about this happy fella up here. This happy fella up there is Asif. Asif is just sitting right there. So Asif, he's one of our students at the CDTM. And Asif is from Pakistan. And on Wednesday, after working for half the week, I was actually wondering how he learned German when he came to Germany. And he has this very nice idea of learning German. Let me tell you. So Asif said he started using apps, language apps. But after a while, he got really bored because it was just repetitive. He was just learning everything by heart, and he didn't have any fun. So what Asif did is, after 2 chapters, he said, I know enough German, so I'm just going to take children books with pictures, Cinderella, Snow White, all the stories he knew, so that he can actually follow the story and read all the German sentences up there. And after getting a little bit into it, he moved to the more sophisticated books, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. And as you can see up here, he always wrote the sentences or the words which he didn't understand. He always wrote it up there. And after doing that in 10, 15, 20 comics, reading a little bit more sophisticated comics, he actually is now able to read and speak German in a very good way. So what is the cool part about that story? When I was talking to Asif on Wednesday, this fella was standing next to us. That fella is Chris. And Chris, sitting back there, he's working in a refugee camp as a volunteer for 5 weeks now. And Chris was listening to us, and he actually said, Asif, do you think it makes sense that we would get 300 comic books to the refugees in our camp so that they can maybe learn German? And Asif said, yeah, for sure, why not? Let's try it. So Chris wrote to the publishers of the Mickey Mouse magazine and the Donald Duck magazine, and currently, right now, there are 300 books on the way to the refugee camp in Unterhaching. Isn't that an awesome story? And now you can see how elesa.org works. Exactly that story, or that way of how Asif learned German is on elesa.org. You can check it out. You can go on there and just read through it if you want to. I mean, it is just a small story, how Asif learned German. But as you can see, maybe it helps 5, 10, 15, 20 refugees in Germany to learn a little bit more of German. And by adding all of these little stories, all of these little solutions together, we can maybe help to work on bigger problems. For example, on the refugee crisis in Germany, maybe we can do a small part to solve that issue. And if you can see globally, all of these issues are somehow connected. It's about education, about work, about hunger. Somehow everything is connected. And if we're gonna work on and have all of these little bricks added together, we can actually try to tackle all the big problems in the world. These are the so-called sustainable development goals. They were just released by the United Nations 3 weeks ago. And what they are, these are the issues which the Earth is currently facing. These are the 15 most pressing issues, and they should be solved until 2030. And that's where big people like Bill Gates or like Angelina Jolie or Richard Branson get their ideas from what they should do. And of course, we cannot tackle all at once. But what we can do, every one of you can pick one of these, which he or she thinks is the most important one to him. And you can go on elesa.org and you can solve global problems by sharing your solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now open for questions. Please.
You mentioned that you're addressing smartphones because they are more diverse and more available throughout the world. I agree if you say there's more mobile communication coverage in parts of the world. But should we have some numbers about the penetration, the availability of smartphones versus just 2G network?
Yeah, so I don't have the numbers, but I know from research that it's not the problem isn't smartphones, but it's the coverage actually, what you said. So people have smartphones because they're kind of cheap already, but just the networks are really slow. So optimization goes into having really fast access times and just small file sizes. So that's most important.
Most networks are still 2G.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so maybe you could talk a little bit more about the community aspect of it, because one could also say, you know, right now with Google and Google Translate, one could maybe also ask many questions and then have it translate for them. So maybe you could talk, for instance, in direct comparison, maybe more about the community aspect and why it really takes it to the next level.
Okay, so there are existing platforms, of course, and you can also just translate things, but sometimes it's just really hard to find the solutions if they're fragmented in different places. So now you have many platforms that just answer questions. You have Wikipedia, and combining all of them, you still don't really know like which one has worked best for all. So we would really like to do this here is to aggregate them, and then also through feature of like upvoting and downvoting solutions, you can really say, okay, this really worked for me. And then what I also did is I added this and that. And so also by enabling the collaboration in a very simple way, like with a very simple access, we just hope to aggregate more knowledge than you would otherwise if you have like a higher barrier to entry, a co-creation side. There's tons of them as well, but they usually tackle the bigger problems, and they want like really big solutions and just pick one. And here we believe that many solutions can be good depending on what you actually want to solve.
Yes, I think the lady over there. Okay, so the question was, how do we get eleza.org to other places, such as in Asia or South America?
So actually, this is something that you have to see in a broader scale, right? I mean, Wikipedia also started out at one point, and now nobody would ask, okay, so how do you get these people to know about Wikipedia? This is actually something on a global scale what we want to achieve, what might take years, apparently. We work on marketing campaigns for this, and you have to start somewhere, and we start right here, and we also try to share it right now via live stream to the US and to all over the world, basically. So you have Facebook, and you have Twitter, and you have Instagram, and you have all those social networks. And I read somewhere that you actually know every person via 7 other persons. So you will have the people in your network. I have people in my network from Africa, from my states, so they will share it in their network, and they will see what we do here. So actually, right now, I don't see where the global question is such an issue. I mean, it was, I bet it was, but right now it's making progress to not being an issue anymore if you're in Africa or Asia or South America.
I used to work with a different collaborative platform, and we realized that actually for example, India is a country where stuff like this spreads really easily because people actually really share. I mean, I don't know what kind of networks they use for that or how they share it, if it's word of mouth or over social media, but we see that like one person from India would see something on an American site and they would just share it among their friends, and then those would share it into also neighboring countries. So we can also, for now, just hope for that kind of organic growth. But also, I would say that within the 5 days, we were also focusing on like more important issues for this presentation. So we already have this on like a roadmap of like how to develop this over the next weeks.
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
We will solve the problem, we will solve the problem of the refugees, but who is the real target?
Okay, so the question is, who is the target user of this platform? So from my understanding, this platform is a very open platform. So of course, we want to help helpers first, but there are many pressing problems that people on the ground, or for example, refugees in Germany already have. So we also want to enable them to post solutions for themselves to help other refugees maybe to solve certain things or to solve certain problems they have. Yes? Yes.
It's not that we want to just tackle the refugee crisis. It's about, we picked the refugee crisis since it's a pressing issue right now, and we had to have a pilot project. So we tried to focus on the refugee crisis. But so this picture is just about illustrating that we want to solve global problems by sharing solutions. It's not to focus on the refugees, it's about all the global problems out there, and we try to tackle them somehow. Hi.
Yes, maybe a question over there. We come here because we have our guests from the internet.
So the question was that all these small issues or all these small solutions maybe don't really help to solve really big problems, if I just may summarize it a little bit. Yeah, it is true, you're right, but what we saw is if you think of a bottom-up approach and a top-down approach, all of the platforms which there are, or all the informations, when you go to Caritas or to Rotes Kreuz, it's always a top-down approach. So that they tell you, okay, we would like to have, or you need to do that and that and that. But what we would rather like to have is a bottom-up approach, so that people like Asif can just give like these little stories, or people like Chris can tell, okay, my project worked quite well. And so building up that step by step. It might be, of course, there might be some stones missing to solve all these big problems, but we would like to be the platform which actually gives, let's say, the small people a voice, where you can actually say, okay, I just have this little solution, but I would like to share it. That was the idea.
Okay, maybe two more questions. So I'll prefer external people because you can ask us a lot. So please. Thank you.
I would like to know how you incorporated the users when you started with the refugees here on your design. I understand then the goal went a bit broader, but how do you start that more user-centric design of your
So the question was how we integrated the users for the development or the design. So we can say that the first 2 days for us, we basically went out to the refugee camps, and we were talking to a lot of people, just talking to them, getting to know, getting a little bit of an idea of what the problems are and what the issues are. So we went to refugee camps, we talked to refugees, we talked to volunteer helpers, and we talked to some organizations. And we had a Skype call with a refugee in Libya. We had a Skype call to someone in the Lebanon, I think. So we just were talking to a lot of people who were involved in that issue. And after getting that idea, for example, that was one of the reasons why we decided for mobile first, because we saw that most of the refugees here in Germany as well, they use smartphones. It was one of the initial ideas. And after we got that impression, we were starting to prototype. So we were just giving out sketching paper prototypes, going out to the streets, going to the refugee camps and just having some people quickly say, oh, yeah, I would like to have it like that, or I would not like that. And after that, we refined that, did some iteration loops on that, and yeah, that's how our final product came out.
How did you decide to then go sort of try to approach the entire world rather than saying let's focus on these kind of refugees that happen to be middle class that have these devices that are in the network at least 3 or 4 years? At some point it was a decision though.
Yeah. It was, to be honest, it was a little bit a given decision because it's more the vision of Lin. So he actually said he wants to build a platform for global solutions. But the starting point for it should be the most pressing issue right now in Germany, and which is undoubtedly the refugee crisis. So so basically you could say we went from big to very small and then went big again.
Okay, one more question before our project partner will speak. So, yeah, sorry guys. So maybe back there, next to Chris. Yeah. Okay, so basically. Yes, so the question is, how do we moderate the content that comes into our platform? So what we do is basically, well, we are very pragmatic, right? So at first, we have to moderate ourselves. We have to make sure that there's no racist comments on our platform, which right now targets refugees. And we definitely will make sure that this won't happen. In the future, though, in the long term, we want to build a community that moderates itself. So building up on sort of the Wikipedia model, which very much focuses on self-administration. We want to build that kind of community too, to ensure, first of all, the quality of the content, and also that it's not racist or not full of hate speech. Exactly. This is our pragmatic approach. So now, forward from our project partner.
Thank you. So I don't have much to add. You know, I think the team did a fantastic job presenting this idea. You know, it took 2 years to come up with this, and it was a very, very winding road. You know, 2 years ago, I was at a conference in New York, and we were talking with some UN experts about world hunger. And I had chaired a session about food waste because, you know, just thinking of it, we throw away more food than we need to feed, the 800 million people who are in hunger right now. And in the session, I realized that everybody was coming up with solutions, and many people had examples of solutions, but it was completely clear that every single person in this group, and it was a very diverse group, had come up with a solution on their own in their community. And I thought, wow, there must be a better way to solve food waste. And then later in the hotel room, I'm like, wow, that is actually a general problem, right? It's a general problem that people want to do the right thing, and then they don't have any idea how to start and who did it before. And then you go to Google and you kind of expect to have some results, and the results are, scattered. And I mean, imagine a world without Wikipedia, and you try to find out a fact, right? It's actually, I would challenge you to try that. Google for a fact. Try to find out the knowledge about something. And you will find out that, there's like lots of stuff, and you have absolutely no clue what's wrong or what's right. And this is exactly the situation that we have with solutions right now. There's no central place where you can actually see, peer-reviewed, vetted information about best practices in a solution. And so I thought about this for a year or so. And then last year at the same conference, I actually said, to the public, let's do that. And I was hoping to have an enthusiastic response of volunteers who would build this stuff with me. And I got an enthusiastic response of lots of volunteers, and everybody wanted to build something else. So it was very, very difficult to get started. And then it needed a professor from Hong Kong, of all places, to introduce me to CDTM. I've been living in Munich for 20 years, just for your information. So a friend of mine from Hong Kong actually introduced me to CDTM in January. And then, I was invited to hold a speech at Inspire and Dine, which is a wonderful institution. If you don't know it, please come to it. And after Inspire and Dine, I met Laura and Philip, and they got really excited about this idea, and they proposed the center venture here. Hanno was also involved because I actually had forgotten to talk to the two guys about this specific problem. So now we've done it, and we've kind of done a really, really difficult part of the whole thing. We got started, right? So this is, many people would say, the most difficult part, to actually get started, to jump into the cold water and actually build something. But of course, now comes the even more difficult part, to actually sustain it and make it work. And what you've seen, I mean, I've heard a lot of really intelligent questions this evening, and all of these questions need to be answered. How do we spread the word? How do we get people involved? There's lots of technical issues that we still need to solve. This is a closed beta because it's a prototype, right? Which is exactly what you can do in 5 days. 5 days of amazing work. I mean, I'm really, really impressed by the professionalism of what was being done here. I mean, this was really, really intriguing. And I can only say, I mean, I'm so glad that I actually got introduced to CDTM, because it's such a really, really amazing place. I've had the opportunity to talk many of the entrepreneurs here. Many of you have already started stuff. I mean, you're way ahead. I mean, I didn't start anything until I was like 28 or something like that. So it's like, whew, cool. So anyway, so I think, we've said enough about this platform. I think, the basic idea is all of us can change the world by working together. Lots of little small things can actually change the world, right? I mean, if you talk Christian, for example, I mean, who was one of our examples, I mean, he actually put refugees into work. It wasn't like a big top-down thing. He actually just went out there and tried to find a solution for it. And if more people like him can just work together to actually come up with these ideas, we can solve some pretty big problems. Not just this. I mean, honestly, this crisis will not eventually be solved in Germany. It needs to be solved somewhere else. And this is what the UN Sustainable Development Goals are all about. You know, we need to end conflict, we need to end hunger. And these are all sound like very, very daunting problems. But they will all be solved by small little steps in the right direction. There's lots of people in the world who want to do the right thing, and they don't really know where to start. If we can give them a starting point, and if we can give them a way to improve on the practices of others, I think we are a huge step forward to actually solving some of these issues. And yeah, policy needs to come, and you know, politicians need to get their act together, and all of this stuff needs to happen as well. But it will never happen unless, you know, all of us, you know, the majority of the people actually come together and actually solve some of the issue. And the great thing is that many of us actually want to do that. We just don't know how to get started. With that, I want to close. What I would like to ask is that the team please comes on stage. We had this wonderful presentation from some of the team, but you know, please everybody come here and join me on the stage.
Your talk, and I was one of the founders of this thing. Is it loud?
Yeah, sure.
Is it loud?
Yeah, it is.
Can I talk? Hi, Andrew. Hi. Can I say something? Yeah. When he gave his talk at Inspirational recently, I said that was really one of the most tremendous talks. It was an inspiring talk, and it was being given here in Munich, not in Silicon Valley or somewhere else. And it was something that inspired everybody, I think, who was in that room. Tonight, all of you, not just this gentleman, but all of you, to me, have given a highly inspirational talk or presentation. The message I want to give to everybody is, up till now, social media, digital technology, because we're talking about the Center for Digital Technology and Management, okay? Digital media has created things which have brought a lot of harm as well as good. Like, for example, what's happened with ISIS and things like that. All happened because of digital, you know, of social media, digital technology. The politicians, the people at the top of the top and down process, bless their hearts, they're the best we can get, but they're out of control because they cannot understand the world that this has suddenly absolutely plummeted us into. We couldn't have imagined. People talk about scenario planning. We couldn't have imagined at any time some of these scenarios that have been developing, all because of digital technology, social media. Not just today, but in the future, politicians and people in the top-down process will have these problems. What nobody's getting out of digital technology, what nobody's getting out of social media, is the huge amount of energy that can be tapped, but people don't know how to tap it. People say we've got to turn government inside out, and we've got to have government by the people, for the people. Wonderful words, sort of Bill Clinton stuff, but who knows what it means? Who knows what it means? Only you guys, only the young can do this. And Lin has made a tremendous statement. You know, when guys tried to found, he said, don't be frightened to get a start going and then see what happens. Don't try to say, well, what would happen if we get to there and it won't work? And what of this and what of that? Don't worry about that. Just get the start going and then give it that huge amount of energy, which you young guys have. The rest will pan out. When people started to figure out about a thing that might fly, I remember very clearly watching an old movie of the first guys who ran off the end of the pier with these wings and crashed into the cold water, okay? And today, millions of people flying safely all over the world in aeroplanes that came out of that idea by a young guy. And therefore, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, can we handle this problem? Because I think you guys are setting up an example just as good as anybody in California or anybody else. So go at it. Just don't be afraid. Lin can help you. Other people can help you. Think of what you can do. But only if it comes from the bottom up will things change. And I think it's an exciting moment for the CDTM when we're saying, what the hell? Let's just go out and address some of the real big issues. Otherwise, 50 years from now, the world as we know it won't be. That's how close it is. So I wish you all good luck, and just don't be afraid. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now I really can't add much more. Thank you so much for the kind words. I just wanted to say, it's one thing to have an idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen. It's something completely different to actually build something. So I was sitting there, all week long, looking on Facebook and stuff like that, and you guys did this work. It was really you guys who did this work. I did hardly anything, right? So this is really, really the important part, building stuff, not talking about stuff, not coming, ideas are great, but unless you actually build this stuff, it doesn't make any difference. So thank you so much for building this thing, because now it's real and now it can grow. Thank you so much. And that's it.
So does it work? At least one, I think. So as said, there's one more thing. As we just mentioned, today what we have launched is a closed beta version. So basically it's not open to the broad public yet, but you as the people in the room, you are the privileged one, you can have first sites on the website. So what you have on your desk is our little login codes. Go to elesa.org and log in with these codes, and then you can see the progress during the next weeks, how the platform will develop until it will finally be launched publicly. And with this, we are done, and you are done, and thanks for an amazing week, guys.
I didn't even know I'm kind of a moderator now. Until like, oh. Hey.
Ja, das hatte schon gespielt.
Ach so, ja.
Ja, aber das nachher noch bei mir. Ja, lass auf jeden Fall.
Dankeschön für die Präsentation.
Nächstes, das war ich.